Welcome to the online lecture for Chapter 4. You should use the information in this chapter to complete the guided notes for Chapter 4. This lecture covers all of the information for the entire chapter, so this one isn't split into parts. In this lecture, we're going to talk about three major topics. First, we're going to talk about carbon, and we're going to discuss why it is so important and so common in the molecules of living things. Second, we're going to discuss some molecules known as functional groups. And last, we're going to talk about some molecules known as isomers. You may have heard of life on Earth as being referred to as carbon-based life. And that's true. Carbon is at the center of most of the molecules that make up our cells and our bodies, these things we call organic molecules. So that begs the question, why carbon? Why aren't we aluminum-based life or neon-based life or something like that? Well, carbon has all of the right characteristics for making organic molecules. First of all, it's pretty small. Carbon has an atomic number of 6, which means it has 6 protons and 6 electrons, and it happens to have 6 neutrons too. Because it has 6 electrons, that means it has 4 valence electrons, and that means that it needs 4 more valence electrons to meet the octet rule. This means that a carbon can make 4 bonds. You see that here in methane. This carbon is connecting to 4 separate hydrogen atoms, so it's making 4 bonds and meeting the octet rule. So because carbon is small and because it can make 4 bonds, that makes it very, very versatile. So it can, molecules that include carbon can take on a number of different shapes. Here we see carbon making 4 single covalent bonds. This molecule includes only single bonds, but the 2 carbons are connecting together, making a chain. Here we see it making a double bond. So molecules that include carbon can have many different shapes and many different arrangements, and that makes carbon very, very versatile. On the right, we have a whole bunch of carbon-based molecules. In other words, they have a carbon backbone, or we call them organic. And just look at all the different kinds of shapes of molecules that you can make using carbon as the backbone. Here we have some molecules that have double bonds between their carbons. Here's a really long chain of carbons all linked together. Here we have a chain that branches made of carbons. And here we even have some structures made of rings of carbon. So again, carbon is really, really versatile because it can make those 4 bonds. And because of that, you can make lots of different molecules with lots of different shapes out of carbon. Molecules can be classified in one of 2 categories. We either consider them organic or inorganic. Organic molecules all have 2 components minimally, carbon and hydrogen together. Another word for organic molecules are hydrocarbons. Inorganic molecules may include carbon, but if they don't also have hydrogen, we consider them inorganic. Now, organic molecules may contain other atoms as well. They can have oxygen and nitrogen, sulfur, for instance, but minimally, carbon and hydrogen has to be there. Here's an example of a fatty acid. It's an organic molecule, and look at all the carbons and hydrogens all over the place. Definitely organic. Here are a couple of examples of inorganic molecules, water and carbon dioxide. Now, just because molecules are inorganic, it doesn't mean they aren't important to life. Water, of course, is essential to life, and CO2 is a byproduct of our metabolism. We make CO2 all the time. It's just that they're in a different category. Here's your first year turn. I'd like you to examine these different molecules and tell me whether they are organic or inorganic. Write your answers down and bring them to class.